Hello Vault Heads, this is the self-proclaimed, sarcastically named Captain KeyForge, also known as PJ Broughton of the Steel City Snufflegators. And here we are again with the latest episode of Captain's Commpod, continuing with the series regarding the new token creatures from the Winds of Exchange set that we'll be getting very shortly, hopefully. And this time I'm going to be looking at Unfathomable, as the poll on Twitter requested that house next. So yeah, we're going to look at the 4 Unfathomable tokens, from which I think is least competitive to most, which is going to bring me on to the very first one. In 4th place, we have Raider, which is power 1, no armor, Aquan. Raider gains poison during your turn. Okay, why can it not just be poison? I don't know why it needs to be just poison on your turn, or why can it not be if the tide is high, this creature gains poison? I understand you're not getting a tide card in Winds of Exchange. There wasn't a tide card in World Collide, but Valakanth was in there with a if the tide is not low ability. It had a neutral ability about exhausting opponent creatures. I mean, as I've said before, 14 of the 28 token creatures are 1 power. So, I mean, 1 power for token creatures is not in of itself inherently bad, but equally half of the token creatures in the set are going to be stronger than this, and they're going to be able to destroy it. And again, if your opponent decides to destroy it on their turn by fighting, it's not poison, so it's not going to take their creature with it either. So yeah, I really wish it was this creature loses poison if the tide is low. That's what I wish. I wish it was Raider, Aquan, poison. If the tide is low, this creature loses poison. And then it'd also make it a bit more interactive with Dark Tidings and stuff like that. It's weak. Poison on your side of the turn, only on your side of the turn, is weak. I mean, it's not horrendous, and we may well have seen worse in other houses, but certainly in House Unfathomable, this is absolutely, of the 4, the least competitive. Yeah, I'm not going to lie, I think you're going to be a little bit disappointed with this one if you get this one out of the 4 of them. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it is poison, so anything you run it into on your turn, it's going to take with it. So I mean, big beefy Brobnar creatures, which may be a problem for people, is not going to be a problem for this on your turn anyway. But equally, it's not skirmish, so it's going to die itself. Equally, because it's power 1, it's not going to make it through the hazardous either. So yeah, any creatures that have got hazardous, they're going to take this out when fighting. Poison doesn't do anything against elusive. Yeah, I'm not particularly impressed with it. Could have been designed to be a little bit more use. Weak creature, weak ability. Quite an easy call, to be fair, that this creature was the least competitive token creature out of House Unfathomable. So yeah, that's it. That's at 4, Raider. So after that, we'll look at what I've got in 3rd. And in 3rd, I've got Priest, which is power 2, 0 armor, action, exhaust an enemy creature. Okay, so why have I got this above Raider? So for starters, it's 1 more power. Again, you've heard me talk about power. It's not the be all and end all, but this is more powerful than half the other token creatures in Winds of Exchange. So yeah, that's worth having. Also as well, the ability action exhaust an enemy creature. I certainly think it's better than a one-sided poison, especially on something that's not skirmish. Again, from a competitive standpoint, maybe, just maybe, could it have been Reap, exhaust an enemy creature? I mean, when they were playtesting it, did they try that? Did they think it was too powerful? I don't know, maybe I'm just greedy, because I always seem to want more from some of these cards that I've got at the bottom end. But would Reap, Exhaust an enemy creature have been too powerful? I'm not sure it would. Again, maybe then Reap, if the tide is not low, Exhaust an enemy creature. Then you've got to worry about the tide, and we can still continue to have the Unfathomable cards interact with the tide like Valakanthe did in Worlds Collide. It would, yeah. I'd like to see it still be referenced a little bit, maybe. Although I'll say this: not using the tide is probably easier for new players to comprehend and deal with and stuff like that. So I'll give you that. But certainly, I would have liked to have seen it Reap, Exhaust an enemy creature. But I think it's better because if Elusive's there, Raider's not going to knock them off the board. This can stop a really good Reap ability. Admittedly, Raider can if you're prepared to sacrifice it, and if there's nothing in place that's elusive or hazardous or anything like that. But I just feel, I mean, this is going to have a much better time of it trying to stay alive. Its ability, it is a one-sided ability because it's only on your turn. You know, you can't take an action on an opponent's turn. But I just think it's going to last longer. Being able to stop a creature reaping or fighting is pretty valuable. It's not as good as destroying them, but it's pretty good. So yeah, I mean, it's not an absolute belter, but I'm giving it pretty much to Priest based on the power, the fact that it's more durable, because I'm not particularly plussed with either of these two's abilities. But yeah, personally, I'd rather see Priest. However, to be fair, I'd much rather see either what I've got in second or what I've got in first, which is going to bring us on to what I've got in second place, which is the collection of cards now. So the token creature is Cultist, which is 2 power, Aquan, destroy Cultist. If you do, ward a friendly creature. And it also comes with 2 other cards. It comes with Primordial Vault, which is an artifact. At the start of your turn, make a Cultist. Action: destroy 4 friendly cultists. If you do, search your deck and discard pile for Tangaika, reveal it, add it to your hand, and shuffle your deck. And then the aforementioned Tangaika. 2 amber, power 25, creature, beast. You cannot play Tangaika unless you control 4 or more cultists. Splash attack 5 after fight game 1. So it's kind of like another go at a gigantic creature, isn't it, really? So power 25 is stronger than Ultra Gravitron or Deosilus or Niflcon. It's a 3-card combo, just like the other gigantic creatures, but this one is spread across a token creature, an artifact, and a creature card. Now, 2 amber when you play it is nice. An after fight ability of game 1 is nice. Splash attack 5. So every time you fight with this, you're going to do 25 damage to the thing in the middle, 5 to the 2 things at the sides. You're going to gain 1 as well. Brilliant. Very good. I think when you get Tangaika into play, you're going to have a good time. So the next question possibly is, well, Captain KeyForge, why is this second and not first? Because I still think it's going to be a little tricky to get it into play. I think it's going to be a lot easier to get into play than they were looking at originally, because some of these cards have been changed. Cultist has been errated, as has Tangaika. So I think that's a good thing. Because, yeah, you don't want to be getting these and never getting them into play. That's not a good thing. That's not going to be fun. It's going to put people off these sorts of decks. It's just really not a good idea. But, yeah, there's still an issue of how easy is it going to be to get this Tangaika into play. But even by itself, Cultist, power 2, action, destroy Cultist if you do ward a friendly creature. I think the ability to ward a friendly creature is possibly more useful than being able to exhaust an enemy creature. And I also think it's possibly more useful than being able to poison an enemy creature off the board by fighting, without the fact that the artifact is passive and allows you to create a token creature on every single turn, whether or not that turn is an unfathomable turn. The artifact also gives you the ability to kind of, it's coming Tangaika into play, although it's coming only ever searched for half of the gigantic creature, whereas Primordial Vault, if you've managed to get 4 cultists into play, you can then get Tangaika into play on the same turn. I feel it's a lot better now than it was. I also feel it's going to be pretty fun. And I don't think it's that bad from a competitive standpoint. It's firmly in the middle. I've seen token creatures that I'd want more, but I've also seen quite a few that I think I'd want less. The way it is now with the token, the artifact, and the gigantic creature, as it were, I know it's not, but it's such a large one, I would not be at all disappointed pulling a deck that had this. I think it's going to be fun. I think it could be competitive. And yeah, it's going to be good to see. Which brings me on to top of the shop, my most competitive Unfathomable Token Creature, the one I think is going to be the most use. I'm reliably informed by a listener I follow on Twitter that it should be pronounced Fish. Power 2. Beast, destroyed, deal 2 damage to the most powerful enemy creature. So yes, people are trying to get behind the idea of calling it Fish. We'll see if they convert me or not. So yeah, why do I think this is the most competitive? So it's power 2 like the others, and it has a passive ability which is always turned on, which works not only on your turn but also on your opponent's turn. I'm a big fan of destroyed abilities that work on your opponent's turn. So like I said, it's power 2, so it's already stronger than half the token creatures. It's as strong power-wise as all of the other unfathomable creatures, and it's just a good ability. If you choose to fight this into something and it dies, you're dealing two to the most powerful enemy creature. I mean, if you fight the most powerful enemy creature with this, if it's power 3, you're still going to kill it, because when this dies, the two's going to finish it off. If it's power 4, the extra 2 is going to finish it off. You know, you could go after something that's 6 or 7, and you may only need to run 2 of these into it. Two of these will take out something that's power 8 with the destroyed damage that's going to hit onto there, as long as the power 8 thing is the most powerful creature on the board. Equally as well, as I said with Prospector when we looked at that, if your opponent is killing these on your opponent's turn, well, what happens? Well, the destroyed ability still triggers. So if you put 4 of these into play on your turn, your opponent plays a board wipe on you, they're still going to take a lot of damage themselves. If they play one-sided damage, they're still going to take damage themselves if they take these out. I really like things that punish your opponent for choosing to destroy your creatures. Yeah, you know, you could flood the board with these, and your opponent's going to have to do something about it. They're going to have to deal with it, but they're going to take a bit of a damage beating for doing it. So yeah, I've got to say I'm a fan of it. I was the same with the Prospector, the destroyed draw card. I thought that was a great ability. And yeah, the first time I looked at this, I thought, it's all right, it's not bad. Not great, but do you know what? Comparing it to the other Unfathomable ones, this is my favourite. I'm going to say it was kind of close between this and the Cultist, but again, destroyed, deal 2 to an enemy over action, ward a creature, I think is more useful. And again, the whole having to try and get the Tangaika into play, the artifact could turn into a token. You just don't know what's going to happen with that. So whereas this, it's going to be nice and reliable, and it's going to do its job. So as ever, what do you think? What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? What would be your order on these 4 creatures? You can tell me on email, by Twitter, by Facebook. I'd love to hear it, hear where I'm right, hear where I'm wrong, see other people's thoughts and stuff like that. We'll continue with this. It will probably be the Saurians next time, unless Ghost Galaxy drop some news on us. But as ever, thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it, and may the Forge be with you.